News and features from around Australia and around the world. This is Travel Radio Australia. Here's your host and travel guide, Ren Sveers. This is Travel Radio Australia.
On the line all the way from Singapore, beautiful Singapore, is Shivaji Das, author and adventurer. Shivaji, welcome to Travel Radio Australia.
Thanks for having me here.
Now, you have just written or recently written a book called Journeys with the Caterpillar. Now, this book is it's got an interesting tale, and all told in quite a humorous way, about some travels. Just give us a brief outline on how the book came about and how the trip came about.
Yeah, thanks. This was before me and my wife, at that time fiance, we got married, and we thought we should have something like a pre-honeymoon, yeah? So this was just 2 months before our wedding. And we were thinking of which place to go, which is nearby and also has enough attractions to keep us busy for 1 month. And since we had both been in Indonesia in quite a few places, we thought these two islands where we had not been before would be quite exciting for us.
Yeah.
And we found Komodo Dragons, we found lakes which change colors every year or so, and then we found very interesting tribal culture and animist religious practices. And then after I came back and we managed to get married, then I thought that there was enough material to probably write a book about these cultures and these landscapes. And so it was more of a post-thought. I didn't plan this book before I went to these islands.
Now, the islands, as you said, they've got very strong cultural overtones and interesting flora, fauna, but it was pretty difficult to get there, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's not the easiest place on earth to travel to, and of course you can have the slightly easier option of taking a flight to Bali and then to one of the bigger towns in these islands. But since you have very few passengers, the flights are often cancelled. So we used a mixture of flights and Indonesian ships or pelni, which was also a very interesting adventure for us. And using these methods, we managed to get to these islands. And once in there, also the travel is not that easy. You have to look for public transport, and they have their own story over there.
Well, those ships alone, after having read that particular chapter of the book, the ships alone are totally unreliable as far as the timetable goes.
Yeah, they are very unreliable, but they still try to make up their lost time, and that's why you have them departing at very odd hours, like at 4 a.m. in the morning. But so they have this particular obsession with trying to make up for lost time, but nonetheless they never manage to.
Now, I haven't had a chance to read all the book yet. Just give us a bit of an idea of some of the experiences you highlighted in the chapters.
Yeah, I think the sort of crowning experience of the whole travel was visiting these traditional villages in both Flores and Sumba. And one of the chapter deals about this isolated village of Werebo, which is about 4 hours from any road in that area, and you have to hike up all the way. And these villagers have sort of decided to live that life so isolated from the rest of the world to preserve their community and to preserve their traditions. And we stayed over there in that village for a few days, and we learned a lot about their cultures. They have strong rules of how they should build a village, strong rules about how the houses should be constructed, and there are rules about every aspect of life. And there are similar stories for other villages as well, like Bena in Flores and in Sumba. And in Sumba, we happened to attend a funeral, and that funeral it involved a lot of sacrifices. About 7 buffaloes and 4 pigs were sacrificed on that day. And this is a very important occasion in the life of Sumbanese, who are the people who live in those islands. So the chapters sort of deal with our experiences with these tribal settlements and their ways of dealing with life. And we also have had experience of visiting these lakes, which I was talking about, the lakes which change colors every few years, our experience with the Komodo Dragons, as well as experience of traveling through the Indonesian ships. So the chapters are organized according to these experiences in a chronological order.
Now these village people, they're very much, like you said, into the funeral rites, but not just funerals, but they also practice rites for births, weddings, harvests, you name it. They've probably got a rite for it.
Yeah, they have rules for almost every aspect of life, and there are feasts and practices associated with each of them. However, these being animist societies, they lay a lot of importance on the ancestors, and they believe that rather than God is the ancestors and the evil spirits who influence their day-to-day lives. And that's why the funeral is probably a lot more important occasion for them than births or weddings. And they have not just elaborate funerals, but also they build very elaborate tombs of big stones. And it costs so much money that sometimes they can go into debt for generations to recover the expenses they have had for funerals and building the tombs to keep these dead bodies. And these also send very strong social signals, and that's why these funerals and tomb building is also important, because if you're a rich man and a powerful man, you'd like to show off to the rest of the world that I'm the guy who can afford such a funeral and building such a tomb. And it's not unusual for the rich in these islands to build a tomb for themselves while they are still alive.
Yeah, it's a very interesting book, and from what I've read so far, written in a very funny and humorous way. But of course, there's a serious overtone to it, because the proceeds, the royalties from the book sales, are going to a couple of very worthwhile organizations. Tell us about those.
Yeah, so I have sort of partnered with these two organizations in both these islands. The first one is IO Indonesia, which works more in Flores. The other one is YHS, or Yayasan Harapan Sumba, which works in the other island of Sumba. And both these NGOs, they work towards different issues, but largely related to eradication of poverty, health, as well as resolution of conflicts. And one of these organizations, I was talking to them recently, they are doing a big project on addressing malaria in some of the worst affected areas of the island. And what I'm doing now is donating all the royalties I get personally from these book sales to both these NGOs.
The book is available in ebook format. Just tell us how people can access it.
The book is available on Amazon for now, and it will be available in print, I believe, in Singapore and Malaysia, if everything goes according to the plan, by end of April. And it should also be available in India and rest of the world around June or July, if things go well with my editor. But as of now, it can be accessed through Amazon.com.
So the book that people should be looking for, Journeys with the Caterpillar, and the author's name, Shivaji Das, that's Shivaji and Das. So it shouldn't be too hard to find at all. It's been very interesting talking to you, and we wish you all success with the publication.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me here.